Now, I'm going to show you guys around the 83 Mercedes. And well, the first thing we got to do is take this cover off, because you got to keep all the pollen off of it. Now these cars, back then, at least what I've read in the few minutes that I investigated this, have a single stage paint. Unlike modern cars, they have two stages. Single stage paint has a clear coat mixed in with the paint, whereas new cars have a paint layer, and then on top of that they have clear coats, making it much easier to wax and maintain the paint and so forth, buff out little scratches and everything. These old cars, the paint, if it's not maintained well, it kind of gets like this chalky look to it, and I think it's oxidation. Every time I have waxed this car, my bonnets have turned blue, and it's a little worrying because I don't want to use my rotor waxer, because I'm worried that I'm just going to burn right through the paint. So I do everything by hand on this, and it's a pain in the butt. But it looks pretty good for 43 years old. Okay, well, I'll walk you around the car a little bit. So as you can see, what we have here is the 240D Mercedes. The D stands for diesel. The 240, well, I guess first of all, this is the W123 chassis, and the 240D stands for the size of the engine, the displacement of it, and then the fact that it runs on diesel. So it's a 2.4 liter four-cylinder that runs on diesel. So as you can see, I've got the paint matched hubs on this bad boy. This is called a Biscayne blue. The paint is in, really excellent condition. When I got it, the chrome and stuff was kind of pitted and needed a lot of attention. I've waxed it twice now since I've had it, and both times the paint has looked better afterwards, so hopefully I've got it to a good place. The rubber's all been dressed because it was pretty dried out when I got it. This model has the sunroof, solid sunroof that hides underneath the top. Inside here, it hides within here. All the glass is in perfect condition. There's no cracks or anything. There's no real dents or issues with it. Let's take a look inside. The interior is in excellent condition. It's even got the in the little first aid kit from 1983 is in there. I checked it out. All the stuff is still in there. It smells like an antique store in here, but it's got the fold-out armrest. The only thing is these are a little saggy. I wish I could tighten them up a little bit, but the headliner's in really good condition. The only thing, the dash has maybe a few cracks on it, but other than that, the interior is like brand new. All right, to continue, this is the sought-after 4-speed, which is great because it's much simpler to fix if there's something goes wrong. We do have the cruise control on it. As you can see on the dash here, we've got a clock. Yeah, a clock, not a tachometer. You got the speedometer. You've got the fuel level. You've got the water temp, and you've got the oil pressure. And then you have all your lights underneath here. This little guy right here is if you need to turn up the idle on the engine, like if it's winter time and you need to warm up the engine, you can turn that little dial and it will crank up the idle a few hundred RPMs. This knob right here releases the parking brake. This is your lights. It has the original tape deck. The tape keeps spitting out, but the radio works perfectly fine. When I got it, this cover here was not in the best shape, and the lights didn't work behind it. So I figured out how to remove that, and I purchased a replacement off of eBay. I replaced all the light bulbs behind these, got everything working, and now it looks great. We've got the dome light for the back right here, antenna up and down. When you turn the radio on, the antenna kind of goes up halfway, which is probably like a highway height. But you can put the antenna up higher with this. This is your air conditioning. This is your sunroof. This is your rear window defrost. And then as we look down in the middle here, we've got the hazards and then the 4 windows. This is a lockout for the back windows, which is pretty cool for 1983. This is the passenger side mirror adjustment. The driver's side is a manual adjustment. And then this is for your speakers going between front and back, kind of figuring out where you want that sound to be. And then this right here is for these two. This is fresh air only, so this is full on, and if you slide it this way, you've closed it, so there's no fresh air coming out of those guys. And then when you use the heat or the cool, that air comes out of the side units right there. And that's the cockpit of the 240D. So to open the hood, inside the cab there's a little lever that you pull, and then what happens is this little tongue sticks out. You pull that little tongue out further and just lift her up. All right, here's the engine, the big diesel 4-cylinder. Also interesting to note, this emissions tab right here tells you a little bit about the car, its displacement and horsepower and so forth. And as we can see, in 1983, when this rolled off the assembly line, this car had a total of 67 horsepower. That's right, folks. So I get 0 to 60 in about a minute when I go down the road, but I'm not trying to race anybody. It's just for fun. So anyway, when I got this thing, there was a lot of grease in here and it needed some work. First thing I did was replace the secondary fuel filter and the primary fuel filter. I replaced the injectors as well as the jump lines. This little shock right here, which is part of the throttle linkage, was mounted upside down, and it was packed full of dirt and sand, and it was worthless. So I had to order a new one from Germany. One thing I was having a problem with was my pedal sticking, which is never a good time when you're going on the road and your throttle sticks open. Behind this, there is, kind of looks like a roller skate wheel. It's like a vinyl wheel. And I've heard that those can kind of deteriorate and kind of gum up the whole issue here. So I took it out and it literally fell into pieces on the ground. So I replaced that, and the throttle response is magnificent. Also, when I bought this car, some of the windows didn't work, the sunroof didn't work, the fog lights didn't work. I thought I had a lot of work to do, but all I did was open up the fuse panel here, replace the fuses that were blown, and everything works. So fantastic. This right here is the oil filter. As you can see how big it is. It's about 3 times the size of a normal oil filter, but this is a diesel. This contraption right here is for the cruise control. There's supposed to be between this little ball and this little ball right here, there's supposed to be an arm. That's missing, and this servo actually doesn't work. So my cruise control is inoperable, but you know, with 67 horsepower, I'm not really quite sure how well that would actually work anyway, unless you're on a completely flat road. I did have to fill up that, which was pretty simple. I have replaced this cap because the springs were poor in there and it wasn't holding the pressure it was supposed to. I replaced the thermostat. I replaced the battery. I cleaned up the tie downs and put new ones in there. The battery tray actually had to be replaced as well. Down in here and underneath here are the drain lines for water that comes in, and they were clogged up, and there was the one spot of rust in this car was underneath the battery tray, and the battery tray itself was rusted on that corner. So I put some Miracle Paint on it, which stops rust, and the new tray in there, and everything looks fantastic. Additionally, the tires, when I got them, when I got this car, were about 20 years old. So I replaced the tires as well. Just recently, if we look down in here, right on the bell housing, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but right under here is the clutch slave cylinder, and that had gone bad, and every time I would drive the car, I would see my fluid level and my brake fluid, and this is also the clutch fluid, it shares the same fluid with the brakes. I would see this just drain, so not a good time to be driving the car. So that's been fixed. I use this piece of wood to stop me so I don't hit the back of the garage. But anyway, another thing I've recently done is replace the fill and the drain plugs in the rear differential. The fill plug was stripped out, so I couldn't get it myself. I had to take it to a shop and so that they could get it loose, but we did change the fluid in there and everything. Probably hadn't been changed in 43 years, so that was a good thing. It actually sounds a lot quieter when we drive down the road now. All my boots are in really good condition. Another thing we recently did was brakes all the way around, and we put in new brake lines. Now these brake lines here were 43 years old because they had the factory paint matching to the harness. So another thing we did was there was a bushing on the wheel back here that we replaced, and some bushings on the shifter as well that we did that were just completely missing. All right, so one other thing before we leave. I also replaced these. It's called the light door. There was a lot of rock pitting and cracks due to taking rocks from other cars and so forth. The fog light is still the same, but I replaced the sealed bulbs with H4 Hellas, and it's much more drivable in the evening now. All right, so that's the 83 240D, and as I do more work on it or take some trips, I'll try to do some more update videos and let you know how it's going.